Okay, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Bitcoin. And you guys know we love a challenge, but you might have outdone yourselves with this one. The original Bitcoin white paper.
Yeah, dense is an understatement. It's crazy to think this all started hidden away on some cryptography mailing list.
Right. It's like finding a treasure map, but the treasure is, well, we're not even sure yet. That's what this deep dive is for. We're going to break down this white paper and try to understand the why, the how, the what have you of Bitcoin. So where do we even begin with something like this?
Well, right off the bat, the white paper tackles a problem with online payment systems like the ones we use every day.
Which is?
Trust.
I trust.
They all rely on trusting a third party. Like, you've got to trust your bank or PayPal or whoever to handle everything correctly.
Okay, yeah. It's like needing your parents to okay every online purchase with your allowance. Like, it works, but it's not exactly ideal.
Exactly. And that's what the white paper is trying to solve. It's envisioning this whole system of online transactions that are as direct and easy as, like, sending an email. No more middleman.
All right, now you're talking. Cutting out the middleman, I can get behind that. But how do you actually pull that off? How do you create a system like that where you don't need to trust some big institution in the middle of it all?
Well, that is the million-dollar question, and that's where Bitcoin comes in. The white paper lays out a system for electronic cash, and I'm putting that in air quotes because it's not cash as we know it. It's a fully digital currency that operates on a whole different level.
Okay, that sounds like something straight out of Star Trek. But break it down for me. How does this electronic cash actually work in the real world?
So picture this. Bitcoin is like a chain of digital signatures. Each Bitcoin is like a virtual coin, but it's not just a static file. It has a whole history attached to it. Every time a Bitcoin is sent from one person to another, the previous owner uses cryptography to digitally sign it over to the new owner.
Okay, so instead of handing someone a physical $5 bill, you're using cryptography to prove ownership and transfer these, like, virtual coins.
You got it. And here's the kicker. All these digital signatures are linked together. They create this chronological chain of ownership that's completely public and verifiable. This public record is known as the blockchain.
A chain of signatures, .a blockchain. Got it. Okay, that's starting to make sense. But hold on. Couldn't someone just copy their Bitcoin and spend it twice? Like, hit Ctrl-C and suddenly you've got double the Bitcoin.
Ah, you've hit on a crucial point. It's the double spend problem. That's one of the biggest challenges for any digital cash system. Think about it. With regular cash, counterfeiting is the big concern. But with digital files, copying is easy.
Yeah, you're right. The whole system falls apart if people can just duplicate their Bitcoin like that. So how does Bitcoin prevent that? How do we know someone's not out there making it rain digital dollars?
Okay, this is where it gets really cool. Bitcoin solves this problem with something called a timestamp server.
A timestamp server. Hold up, is that like a digital notary for our money? This is wild. We're already in the weeds, and I am here for it. Tell me more.
So imagine a system where every single Bitcoin transaction, every single one, is announced publicly and, crucially, timestamped. And to take it even further, this record of transactions, it's not stored in one place, it's distributed across the entire network of Bitcoin users. Remember the blockchain? That's where this all happens.
So it's like a massive public ledger that everyone has a copy of and agrees on. And because of that, no one can just sneak in a fake transaction because everyone else has a record of what actually happened.
Bingo. But there's one more layer to this whole thing. To make absolutely sure that no one can mess with this shared record, Bitcoin uses this revolutionary thing called proof of work.
Proof of work.
Sure.
Okay, now we're getting to the really good stuff, right? Lay it on me. What is this sorcery?
This is the secret sauce. It's what makes Bitcoin truly secure. It all comes down to computing power. So you've got all these computers on the network, we call them miners. And they're constantly competing against each other to solve these insanely complex mathematical problems.
So it's like a giant Sudoku competition, but for computers.
Yeah.
And the prize is Bitcoin.
Exactly. The first miner to solve the puzzle, they get to add the next block of transactions to Bitcoin's history, to that public ledger we were talking about. And of course, they get rewarded for their effort with newly created Bitcoins. It's all one big decentralized competition.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. We've got these digital signatures proving who owns what, a public ledger called the blockchain, keeping track of everything, a timestamp server acting as our digital notary, and then this whole proof of work system to make sure no one's cheating. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
Okay, I think I'm following so far. We've got these digital signatures forming a chain of ownership, a public ledger called the blockchain to keep track of everything, and this timestamp server acting like a digital notary.
Right.
But how does proof of work fit into all of this, and why is it so important for security?
Okay, so proof of work.
Yeah.
That's the genius part. It's what makes sure that no one can just waltz in and cheat the system. Because you see, to add a new block of transactions to the blockchain to make it official, so to speak, a miner has to prove that they've done the computational work.
Oh, they've actually solved that puzzle.
So it's not enough to just like wave your hand and say, hey, look at these transactions, put them in.
Yeah.
You have to show your work, like back up your claims.
Exactly. Think of it like,
Show me the receipts.
yes, show me the receipts. And the thing is, the more miners you have out there all competing to solve these puzzles,
Right.
the harder it becomes for anyone to pull a fast one on the network.
Okay, but why is that? Explain it to me like I'm 5. Why does having lots of miners make Bitcoin more secure?
Okay, so picture this. Let's say some shady character tries to sneak in a fraudulent transaction, right?
Okay.
Like they're trying to spend some Bitcoin that they don't actually own. Now, to do this, they wouldn't just have to change one little thing. They'd have to rewrite the entire blockchain from that point forward.
Wait, slow down. Rewind. They can't just, like, slip in one tiny change. They have to redo everything.
You'd have to, yeah. And that's the brilliant thing about the blockchain. Because to overwrite the real transaction history, the one everyone agrees on, they'd have to somehow create a longer chain of blocks than everyone else, proving that they've done more work than, like, the entire network combined. It's
Right.
basically impossible.
Yeah, it's like trying to outrun a cheetah when you're wearing cement shoes.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. And I know that the white paper gets into the math here,
Oh, it does.
talking about, like, gambler's ruin and probabilities.
It does, yeah.
I got to be honest. That part was a little over my head.
Yeah, it's definitely where the white paper gets really, really technical. But the important takeaway, the more miners there are, the more ludicrously difficult it becomes to cheat. Like, it's not just a little bit harder, it's exponentially harder.
So unless they have, like, a secret supercomputer
Right.
the size of a small country,
Yeah,
they're out of luck.
pretty much. The white paper makes it very clear it's just a terrible bet for an attacker to make.
Okay, that
Yeah.
is really reassuring.
Yeah.
That makes me feel a lot better about the whole thing because
Yeah.
it's like Bitcoin has this built-in immune system
It does.
against fraud and, like, bad actors.
It's a brilliant system, and what makes it even more interesting is all thanks to decentralization.
Right.
Remember, there's no one person or group calling the shots with Bitcoin.
Right.
It means there's no single point of failure.
That's what always blew my mind when I first started learning about this. It's like the Wild West of finance.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
somehow it actually works.
Right.
But okay, so that brings me to something else that I was thinking about.
Yeah.
If it's all out in the open, like we were saying, on this
Yeah.
public ledger where
Okay.
anyone can see the transactions,
Right.
what about privacy?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's something that the white paper addresses very, very clearly. So while it's true that the transaction details themselves are public,
Right.
your identity is not, because
Okay.
it's all protected through these things called anonymous keys.
Anonymous keys. Okay, now we're talking. That sounds like, I don't know, some kind of spy tech.
It kind of is. Think of it like your secret code, right? You have a public Bitcoin address, which anyone can use to send you money, but it's not your name, it's not your social security number, it's just this string of random looking characters.
Right.
And that address, importantly, isn't directly linked to you, to your actual real world identity.
So it's like a digital alias.
Exactly.
I can receive Bitcoin without revealing who I am.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it.
That's pretty awesome, actually, for privacy.
Okay.
That makes me feel a lot better.
It's very clever.
But, okay, so let's say I have some Bitcoin.
Oh.
How do I actually spend it?
Okay.
I know the white paper mentions something about combining and splitting value, and I've always been a little fuzzy on that. What is that all about?
So that's a great question, and that gets into the whole practicality of how you actually use Bitcoin in the real world. So imagine, let's say you want to buy something online, and it costs, I don't know, 0.05 Bitcoin,
Okay.
but you only have one full Bitcoin.
Right, because you've been HO-dealing it like we talked about last week.
Exactly. But here's the thing. You don't have to spend the entire Bitcoin at once.
Right.
That's where this whole combining and splitting thing comes in. Because transactions in Bitcoin, they can have multiple inputs and outputs.
Okay.
So you could use a tiny fraction of your Bitcoin for that purchase.
Right.
And then the rest of it, the change, essentially would get sent back to you as change, just like if you were paying with regular cash.
So it's like, I don't know, breaking a dollar,
Yeah,
but like in the digital world.
exactly.
Okay, that makes way more sense.
It's very elegant.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here. We've got the signatures, the blockchain, the time stamping, the proof of work, and now we're talking about privacy and how to actually use this thing.
It all fits together.
It's all starting to come together.
Yeah.
This is incredible. All of this system, the digital signatures and the blockchain
It's pretty amazing.
and the timestamps and the proof of work, and
Yeah, it's a lot.
it's so complex, but also so elegant.
Right.
Like, who knew that math could be so revolutionary?
It really is groundbreaking. And the thing is, we've really only just scratched the surface here of what the white paper actually lays out.
I know, right? It's like we've been exploring this whole hidden cave system,
Hmm.
and this is just the first chamber.
Yeah,
There's so much more to uncover.
there's a lot more.
But it does make you wonder. So this white paper, it was first published way back in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of impact have these ideas actually had in the real world?
That's the $64,000 question, isn't it?
Right. Because it's one thing to have a really brilliant idea,
Yeah.
but did it actually work in practice?
Right.
Did it actually spark a revolution in finance like it set out to do?
That's the thing about the Bitcoin white paper. We've been talking about the how of it all, the cryptography, the network, all the really, really clever solutions to, how do you build trust and security in this digital age?
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's even more fascinating is the what happened next
Yep.
part of the story, right?
Totally.
Because this paper,
Yeah.
it went from a cryptography mailing list
Right.
to global headlines.
Ex-
I mean, the journey of Bitcoin from this idea to an actual thing
Yeah.
is a story in itself.
A whole other deep dive.
It is a whole other deep dive. And I think, honestly, it's something that you should definitely explore further.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. The real legacy of this white paper, it's not just about digital currency.
Okay.
It's about so much more than that.
What else is there?
Well, it's about the power of decentralized systems in general,
Okay.
and about how we might be able to reshape the way we think about things like trust and security, even governance.
Wow.
All because of this one idea
Mhm.
that started with this white paper.
It's amazing how much has changed just in the past, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
Right. It's incredible.
But this white paper, it still feels so relevant.
It really does, you know?
It's like this time capsule of ideas
Mhm.
that are still challenging us and inspiring us,
I agree.
even today.
Yeah, the Bitcoin white paper, it wasn't just about like a new kind of money, right?
Well,
It was
right.
a call to action. It was this invitation to imagine a totally different kind of future.
Wow, you've given me a lot to think about today.
Oh, I'm glad to hear.
This has been a really mind-blowing deep dive.
It's always a pleasure to nerd out about Bitcoin.
I'm right there with you. Well, that is it for this deep dive into the Bitcoin white paper, everyone.
Until next time.
If you want to keep exploring, we'll drop some links in the show notes so you can continue your journey down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. We'll see you next time for another fascinating deep dive.